to Creatively Crafted Life, and we're actually trying something a little bit different for this week's video. As you can see, because you can see our faces where you usually just see our hands, we are doing a Crafty Goals kind of video. So what we're going to do is we're going to review projects that both Melanie and I worked on this year, 2017, and go through them and talk about the things that we're happy with and the things that we're a little bit disappointed with, or that we wish would have gone a different way. And then we're also going to be talking about craft projects that we'd like to try and do in 2018. So we're calling it Crafty Goals. So and we'll talk a little bit about, things that you may not necessarily consider crafting, but that definitely come into our creative space.
So as Laura mentioned, we wanted to just kind of reflect back on this past year about what we have accomplished and what we haven't accomplished that we had hoped to. So I'm going to start off with something that I started this year, which is called One Little Word. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Well, I've heard of it because you told me about it, but not on my own.
Right.
So you might want to tell folks
what
that is.
So it's a pretty big project in the scrapbooking community, and it's been developed by Ali Edwards. And basically, you pick a word that kind of acts as your I don't know if it's a mantra or something to guide you throughout the year. And so I had picked the word do. So my intent this year was to get things done that I hadn't worked on in a long time. In the crafting area, obviously do also applies to my personal life, physical and health and all that kind of stuff. So that was a real motivator for me. And what I ended up doing was finishing some really old projects. So one of them that I'm really happy about is I finished a quilt that I started about 20 years ago. So this quilt, I started this quilt when I lived in Alberta, Canada. I took it with me to Manitoba. From Manitoba, I took it with me to California. So it was about time that this thing got done.
It didn't go to Australia?
It did not go to Australia. I didn't take much with me when I lived there. It was only for a year. So, but yeah, so I got it done. I was very impressed with myself, and now it's sitting out in my living room. It was originally intended as a gift. Yeah, sorry. I'm now enjoying it. So,
yeah. Did
you have anything that you've worked on this year that you're happy about?
Well, there's a table that you probably can't see very well behind me, but that's my craft table that we actually put together. So the whole thing with the table was that I wanted a nice big open space to do crafts on, because I found what I had before was just a regular desk and it just wasn't enough space. So I actually had two tables. I had a regular desk, and then I had what amounted to one of those like collapsible tables, that you tend to use outside. So I was using that plus my desk, and it just really wasn't working for me. I just felt like it wasn't the right amount of space and it wasn't configured correctly. So we went out and we found a piece of wood that worked well for what I wanted, and then also retractable or adjustable legs.
Right.
Because that was the other thing, is I actually wanted something tall. So I find that I like it so much better because when I want to stand up, I can just stand up, and when I want to sit down, I can sit down. I have a tall chair. So it worked out really, really well.
So it gives you that flexibility.
Yeah, exactly. And it's deep enough, where I want it. It gives me enough space. So it worked out pretty good. So that was one of the things that I was really happy that we got done. One of my big things this year was we actually moved at the beginning of the year. So a lot of the things that I would normally do over the holiday season for, 2016, the end of the year, and then just projects that I would have started at the beginning of the year, I just wasn't able to do because we were packing and moving, and there was a lot of purging that we were doing. So it was really just, there was so much of that going on that I just didn't have a lot of time at the beginning of the year.
Right.
And then when we moved in, I really tried to focus on getting my craft space set up. We're fortunate where we have a pretty good size room that I'm using for that. I split it with my significant other, and he uses one side for his office, and then I use the other side for office/craft. So it's still not as much space, but I don't want to kick him out or anything. I like having him in the room, but it does still give me a really good amount of space,
Right.
way more than I've ever had before. Plus, the closets that we have here are really great. They're really roomy, so they're really tall, and they're basically, you know, it's got one shelf at the top and that's it. So I was able to take like
Your cubes and
yeah,
stuff
the
like that.
cubes, the 12 by 12 cubes, and the IKEA units. What are they called? I can't remember now.
Oh, the Alex drawers.
Yes, the Alex drawers, and take Alex drawers and put them in there and just kind of arrange everything. So it's nice because I close the doors, and if it's a little bit messy because I haven't had a chance to clean it, I can just close the doors, and when I need stuff, I just go in there. And my boyfriend put in some nice lights at the top, so they turn on when you open the doors, which is
Right.
really nice. So it's actually a really great setup. I'm pretty happy with it. Considering we're in a place where we're still renting, it's actually really nice.
Yeah, I'm
setup.
quite impressed. You know what? Maybe one of the things we should do in the new year is a crafting tour, because our rooms are very, very different.
Right.
And that would be kind of interesting to see.
Yeah.
I like you walk into your room and it doesn't scream craft room,
Right.
which is really nice, especially when you're sharing it with somebody
Right.
else.
Well, and that's part of it, right? Is I am sharing it with someone else. So you look at the decor and it's not necessarily all me, but you very much look at my side of the room and that's me. And you look at his side of the room and it's very much him. And there are a lot of things that we share. You know, we're both into, there's a lot of nerd culture in the room. So you'll see, and I'll show you guys all of that, but we'll do some craft room tours because Melanie's room is very impressive.
Well, Melanie's room is very full.
Well, she's been growing it for 20 plus years,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you know.
Exactly. So cool. So you're happy with the way the table turned out?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I need more space, which is a horrible thing to say because I have a lot of space, but I need more space.
I think that's every crafter's
Yeah.
dilemma, right? We could always use more.
And you always think about like what's the ideal, right?
Yeah.
So, and now the other thing is because we're doing this video project, which is something else that neither one of us I think started out the year thinking we were gonna be
Totally was
doing
not
this.
on my radar at
Yeah.
all.
So because we started this video project, I have a whole different set of needs now.
Yeah.
So we've talked about, you know, getting another table that we can put in the room where I can set up just the video editing equipment because that takes up a lot of space.
Right.
And so sometimes when I want to be creative, I look at my table and I'm like, oh, there's all this stuff, you
Right.
know, on there that I
It's a
use.
little overwhelming.
Yeah. So, you know, we would like to see if there's something else that we can do, but there's some reconfigurations that we want to do in the room, but yeah, I mean, other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. It works for me. I can be creative. I love that it's tall because I can put stuff underneath. You know,
Yeah,
like
that's
the
great. I
cards.
wish I had that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's really great. I love that part of it. So that was one of my big things. Those were some of my big things. That and the organization, and you know, so those were some of the more technical, I guess, things
Right.
instead of necessarily very, very creative. But
It is creative. It's just a different, not what normally people traditionally think of.
right,
Especially with women. Usually
Right.
they're not woodworking. I mean, not that there's anything against it, but that's not normally what people associate with. So
yeah.
that's really
So
cool.
I know you did a bunch of stuff. So why don't we go through some of
Yeah,
yours?
so I actually, after having completed the quilt, I was like, woo, now I remember why I love sewing and quilting. And so I actually, I recently bought a new sewing machine, my sewing machine that I had originally bought when I was 14 years old. I figured it was time to retire it and get a little bit more updated one with a few different options on it. And one of them was a quilting foot and stuff. So I thought, okay, we'll give this a try. I just bought it at Costco. Actually, I think you bought the same.
Yeah, I have the exact same one. I think we sit, so Melanie and I actually know each other from work. So we sit right across the way from each other, and we're in a little square of 4. 3 out of 4 of us bought the same sewing machine.
Yeah, it kind of just, spread,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's one of those things where it just kind of trickles,
Yeah. So the machine didn't come with a case or anything like that. So
Right.
I did want to have some sort of covering
Mhm.
for it. So I thought, well, I could quilt a cover for it. So I did that, and it turned out pretty good. I had no pattern. It was completely winging it. So that was another project I finished, and that went really quick.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, you said
not
you were
20
done with
years.
it. No. Definitely faster than the quilt.
Now I still have enough material to do a full-size quilt, you know, that I also bought like 20 years ago, but that's not on the radar right now. That's a big project, and I probably am not going to make a full-size quilt. It's just too big.
Yeah.
I may break it down into a couple smaller lap quilts or something, or maybe do something completely different with the fabric, but that's moved all around, you know, North America with me too. So who
Your
knows?
stuff travels.
Who knows what I'm gonna do with
It's
that?
well rounded.
Yeah. So I've also made quite a few cards. So before, of course, doing the videos and stuff, I was into card making. I was a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for a number of years, and a big part of that business was making cards. So I tend to send birthday cards to all my family members, and I come from, when I say all my family members, I mean my immediate family. I don't
Right.
send to aunts, uncles, cousins, but even still, it's probably about 25 people, and then of course there's friends and stuff. So throughout the year, I probably send about 25 to 30 birthday cards, and then of course Christmas is another big one. I send about 50 for those, and then I usually send out cards for Valentine's Day to my nephews and nieces, and sometimes I'll do something in the summer depending on what I'm feeling like. So yeah, a lot of cards. How about you? Did you make any cards?
Yeah, so I think this year I probably made more than I have in the past. I've been slowly picking up my paper crafting projects. So this year I definitely made more cards as we were going along. You know, starting of course with this project, you know, that number definitely increased, but even before that I was picking up the number of cards that I was making. I was doing a lot more birthday cards than I normally do, and I have a bunch of Christmas cards as well. So we're filming this in a little bit in advance, so by the time you see this we will be past Christmas, so I will have done a bunch of Christmas cards and such. So
Right.
yeah, but I did have definitely more than I've done in the past. So
Right.
my crafting or creative projects tend to vary a lot. So I can start out, you know, I don't know, the year I was doing some jewelry making a little bit, and then I crochet, and so I do a lot of different kinds of stuff.
You're
so.
a true crafter. I think that's true of most crafting people, that,
Yeah.
you know, you have more than one hobby that you've either
Well-
done throughout the years, or that you have, you know, depending on what your interest is at that point in time.
Yeah, and that has a lot to do with it. It's whatever my interest is at that point in time. And the other thing is that I don't worry about trying something and then not continuing it.
Right.
You know, like I took a weaving class
Right.
last year.
Right.
And I didn't continue it. I have the stuff that they provided in the class, you know, so I have a little loom and everything, so I can do it if I want to, but I wanted to just try it.
Right.
I've seen other people do it, it looked interesting, so I just tried it.
Yeah, and a lot of it is just experiencing
Right.
for yourself, right?
Exactly.
Like, I want to see it, see if I like it, and if I don't, then that's okay.
Yeah.
I've learned, and like one of the things I'd love to learn is pottery.
Right, yeah, and that's actually on my list for this next year, because
Okay.
that's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. And part of what was keeping me from doing that was the idea that, okay, if I learn how to do this, what am I going to do with it? Because you have to rent space in a
Right.
kiln, and you have to have a pottery wheel, and there's all this stuff
Right.
that you have to have in order to be able to do it. But then I finally came to the conclusion where it was like, okay, I do this with everything else, why not with this?
Yeah.
I'll take the class, I'll see if I like it. I'll, you know, use because I know usually when you take a class, they let you use the facilities, the kiln and everything for as long as you're taking the class. Figure I'll use it for as long as I'm taking the class, and that'll be it.
And the nice thing about that is you actually haven't put a lot of money into it.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's not like you went out and bought a kiln or,
Right.
or had one built or
Right.
whatever, and then you go, oh, now what do I do with
Yeah.
it? So.
And I think that's the difference with paper crafting too, and how I've been able to slowly move into that more and more, and why that's becoming my bigger
Focus right now.
focus, yeah, is because it's not as expensive. Like, I know it can get expensive because we tend to buy a lot of stuff.
Yeah, fear of missing out,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. We all have FOMO. But it's also, it doesn't have to be really expensive. I mean, you could buy a simple set of stamps, and you can make your own background paper. We see great YouTubers do it all the time. You
Yeah.
know, Jennifer McGuire is a great one at showing you tricks on how to make your own background.
Right.
Like, you don't have to buy all the papers. You know, a few simple things. And you know, I know you follow what is her name? The Frugal
Crafter.
Frugal Crafter.
Yeah.
She has some great videos on, you know, economical ways to do this stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's a really accessible hobby, and that's
Yeah.
part of what I really like about it.
Yeah, and all the stuff is nice.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, because I have all this
Absolutely.
stuff.
I mean,
But you could, you know, your kids have Crayola markers. You could make a card with it. Like,
Right.
you know, to me, a lot of, especially like cards, it's the thought behind the card that matters, not all the stuff that goes into making it. But yeah, don't get me wrong. I love all the stuff that goes into making.
We all love all the stuff, right?
You know,
we buy it,
and I get enjoyment out of the creative process of putting it together. But.
Yeah.
So I'm also into scrapbooking, and I've done that for years, even before I really was into card making. And so I made some really good progress on those this year. Last year, so 2016, I did a lot of traveling with work. And one of my trips, I was fortunate enough to go to England a couple times, actually 3 times. And so I spent an extra week, and so I got my scrapbook done for that trip. So that was pretty exciting for me. I think it ended up being 2 12 by 12 albums because I take a lot of photos.
We'll be inserting pictures of some of these projects throughout the video, so you'll be able to see some of what we're talking about. And that's one of the other projects that, you know, we have going on. Our big one right now is the videos and the website and all of that. So I know that was one of the big things for me, was learning how to use some of this, because I do most of the video editing. That was our deal. Melanie would be the creative side of things.
Yeah, but not solely. Laura does have input.
Yes.
You know, we do want her to you know, be present in that capacity as well. But you know, all the editing and everything, that's all on her. She does a phenomenal job.
So if you don't like it, I'm sorry.
Be kind.
Yeah, exactly. Be kind. So I'm still learning. So I had a little bit of video editing experience, but I used a different product than what I'm using now. So I'm primarily using Adobe now. And so the full Adobe suite, you know, the effects, the video part of it, and the audio part of it as well, is all Adobe. So I didn't have any experience at all with that product. So it was really learning it from the base up. And I have to say, I love YouTube, because anytime I have a question about anything, it's go to YouTube, look it up, and there are, you know, 20, 30 videos about the one topic.
Right.
So, and I mean, I know that's true for everything, but it really has become my source for learning. It's
more relevant for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think I'm using it now more than I ever have before.
Right.
So that's one thing, and that's actually also comes into one of my goals for the next year, which is to take a course on Adobe Audition, because that's the one product that I've had the most difficult time learning.
And that's the audio tracks and stuff?
That's the audio track, yeah. That's editing the audio part of it. And I've just had a really hard time with it. It just is not as intuitive for me as the video portion of it, or creating effects or everything like that. It's been a lot more work. So I figured I'll just take a course and see if I can get something out of it. So if anyone knows of any good courses, please comment below and let me know. That would be great. That would be really helpful.
Yeah, so actually, speaking of Adobe products, I've had Adobe Photoshop Elements forever. And I have to admit, it's intimidated me a little bit.
Right.
And so I was using it primarily for photo organization, but I know there's this whole other, you know, editing, you know, develop, you know, content kind of component to it. So this year I've learned a little bit. So I made some headways. I've actually, you know, learned about templates and clipping masks and all that kind of stuff. So that's something else I want to continue to develop into the new year. So it's creative, but it's a creative in a different way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and all this stuff is creative. It's just on different levels of creativity, right?
Right.
I mean,
and I think the biggest hindrance, or the biggest thing that was stopping me, was that I always associate computers with work. Because, you know, like, I work in an IT department. I'm not an IT person, people. Just telling you now.
We're both non-IT people in an IT world.
Yes. And so I do deal with computers,
Right.
you know, on a day-to-day basis. And so usually when I go home,
Right.
you know, that's really not what I want to spend my time with. But there are definite advantages, and it's just learning to figure out what those are and capitalizing on it for what works for me. So it's been good. It's been good. But now I have to edit all my photos where I never did that before, and so it's actually increased my workload. But that's okay. They're much better.
You look at one and you're like, no,
yeah.
I have to do something to that.
Yeah, exactly. I can't leave it alone. I can't leave it alone. So you're not really into scrapbooking though.
No, I tried it a little bit, and here's my big problem, and I think I'm going to tackle that this year as well, is printing the pictures.
Yeah.
I get all my pictures together, I'm like, okay, these are the ones that I want, and then I just never get to printing them.
Yeah.
And that's been my real big hang up, because I love putting everything down on the paper, you know, I love the way that it looks, and I can see that even with like the pocket pages, like
like the Becky Higgins Project Life kind of
like
thing.
Like the Project Life stuff, like I could totally do that. You know, I know I have the creative ability to do it.
Right.
It really is. Put up a roadblock for me and I'm done.
I think that happens with a lot of people though,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's almost like everything has to align in order to be creative. You know, your house has to be at a certain, you know, cleanliness, and your, you know, your cats have to be fed, and your neither of us have children, so we don't worry about that.
My children are my two cats, so I have meowing and pawing at the door.
But, so everything kind of has to align in order for you to be in the right frame of mind to be able to create. Yeah. So it's about developing processes and procedures, or procedures sounds so technical. Now you can tell what I do for a living.
Right, exactly.
But finding a way to make it work for you. Right. And I know for myself, like, I always used to just outsource my photo printing, right? I'd go to Costco or whatever. But I haven't been happy with the quality. Right. And then the other thing that I found was I don't always want to scrapbook 4x6. Right. Right? Right. Exactly. I like different sizes, but I am not a planner. Like, that's one thing I've learned over this year is I plan at work, and I think I do a pretty good job of that at work. I'm very organized, that kind of thing. But when I come home in my normal day-to-day life, it's like I've done that. I don't want to do it at home. And so for me to sit there and figure out in advance what size of photo I want for the page that I'm going to create, it just doesn't work. Right. And so what I did last year, I think it was the big Black Friday sales. Yeah. I actually invested in a photo printer. I got a really good deal on it. Now this printer is a beast. Like I'm not gonna lie here.
What's the biggest size that it prints?
It will print 13 by 19. Well, I think any length would be fine, but I think it's 13 inches wide. Okay. It will print.
That's pretty big.
Yeah. But like literally when this thing arrived at my doorstep,
I remember.
I wasn't sure how I was going to get it inside the apartment. I think it weighs about 50 pounds. Yeah. So, I mean, it's get a little creative, and it kind of dragged it in, and then it was like, how am I going to get it onto a desk? So it's now positioned. It's not going anywhere. Right. It is where it is.
It lives where it lives now.
Yeah. But that changed completely my whole approach towards scrapbooking. I mean, I can print whatever size I want, and I think the quality's phenomenal.
See, and that was my other thing with printing pictures. I don't like the quality, and Costco's fine. I'm not saying anything negative about Costco, but I wanted a different kind of quality. I was looking for something a little bit different. And the size thing is my other big thing. I hate having to just say, okay, everything has to be 4x6. I can get it tailored, but like you said, I have to figure it out way in advance. Yeah. I have a stack of pictures from, I was doing the Becky Higgins, the Project Life from 2016. So I have a file of pictures that I want to print on that I've been sitting on for a year. Yeah. So it just is not, it doesn't work for me like that. So what I decided was that I was going to look and start pricing out photo printers, because I think that's going to be a way bigger incentive for me to be able to do some of that. Yeah. So, and if you just heard the meowing, that's my cat. And I apologize.
And I know for a lot of you out there, purchasing a printer for yourself, is not an option. Right. Because It is. I mean, I didn't do the math, but I'm pretty sure it's more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big investment, don't get me wrong, and I won't be getting one the size that you are. I think I had talked to you about it, and I figured out that if I could get something that does a 5x7 at the biggest height, or biggest size, for me that's perfect. I don't think I need anything bigger than that, because I'm never going to do full pages.
Right. Yeah.
So I know.
And if you do, those are the ones you can order out.
Exactly. So I figure a 5x7 is not too bad, but again, Melanie's right. Not everyone can do that, and but it's just, again, it goes back to you do what works for you.
Yeah.
And this is something that I do actually want to do. I have a lot of plans for the year for stuff that I want to be doing, and I think a photo printer is really going to help me get a lot of that accomplished and do it faster. Which is a really big thing.
Yeah.
So.
And the other thing too, like what I'm looking at is the time. Right.
Exactly.
And then not only that is what would happen before is I would send away, let's say 300 photos, and they would come back all 4x6, and then I'd go, oh, I want this one in 5x7, and then I would send away for that. So from my perspective, of the way I was doing it, I'm not saying it was the cheapest way. It probably works out to being about the same without the inconvenience of having to wait. Now, there are some phenomenal printers out there, don't get me wrong. I mean, a couple offhand that I can think of, one I can think of is Persnickety Prints. They do phenomenal printing. But again, you're going to pay probably a little more than you will at Walgreens and Costco and that
There's
kind of
another one I saw recently. We're going to order some big prints for our walls, some of those mounted prints.
Yeah.
For our living room walls from trips that we've taken. And I saw, I think it's called MPIX.
Oh, okay.
And those prints look really good.
I haven't heard of them.
Yeah, they're more, I think professional photographers use them more.
Okay.
But they do a lot of home printing kind of stuff.
Right.
People use them for their personal prints, but it's the quality looks so good. It looks really, really good.
So that may be something that you can leave in the comments below. If you've got any suggestions for anybody who happens to be watching this video that may be interested. Where do you get your pictures done? Are you happy with the quality? What's your balance, right? Quality versus cost, because maybe cost is a bigger issue and you're willing to sacrifice a little on quality.
Right.
Just let us know. Let us know what you think.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Please. So I know we talked a little bit about planning. Planners is another big thing that I know both of us have been trying for the last few years. And this year my big leap was into the Erin Condren planner. So I did a lot of research. I saw a lot of videos. I followed a lot of Instagram posts. I looked very long and hard, and then finally decided I was going to buy myself an Erin Condren planner. They're beautiful planners.
Yes.
They're so beautiful. I mean, if you're someone who loves paper, I think most of us, paper crafters, you see stationery and pens.
Your heart starts to beat a little faster.
You get a little bit, It's like, oh, that's so pretty. And the pens and the markers and the stickers, and all the stuff. And so I got really excited about it, and I went out, and now I've tried different types of planners in the past. I've tried just a standard, spiral planner. I've tried the traveler's notebooks, so I've tried a lot of different stuff, and I have a hard time keeping up. I start out really great, like I, plan everything out, and I'm ready to go, and then I just start dropping off. I get bored, you know? And really, it's just life. Life starts to happen, and I don't have time to keep up with everything.
Which is ironic.
Right.
Because the whole idea behind a planner is to help you keep up.
Right, exactly. Exactly. But I think what happens is I make it too complicated.
Yeah.
I want it to look like everyone else's.
With all the decorations and the stickers and the...
So I went out and I got myself the Erin Condren and all the stuff that comes with it. If anyone's looking for Erin Condren supplies, I probably have them. And it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
It was, again, and it's a great planner, and I've seen people do wonderful things with it, and I think it works really great, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
So again, it's one of those things where I wanted to do so much with it. And so I started out the year, and I tried it, and it worked for a little bit, and then I fell off, and then I picked it up again when we started doing the videos, because I needed something to keep me organized, because it really did get to a point where things were just kind of crazy. So, but I picked it up again and I planned out a little bit, and it just still wasn't keeping up with it. So I got to the end of the year and it really felt like I hadn't used it.
You're a planner failure.
I do. I really fail.
Hey, I'm the same way. I have tried repeatedly, and I think some of it comes with my life is not overly complicated. Right. I'm single. Don't have any children. I don't have any pets. You know, my family lives in a different country. So I know it sounds very pathetic.
It's really not. She's very busy.
But it's not stuff that I need to plan.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I do manage to keep what little I have in my head. So it's very rarely that, you know, I have so much going on that I can't keep track of it. What I like is I'm a list maker. Right? So like, for instance, on a Saturday when I'm home and I know I have a bunch of stuff to do, even though I know I need to vacuum, dust, and clean the bathroom, writing it out as a list just kind of helps center me for the day. And then I love checking the things off. So I'm thinking I need more of a list type planner as opposed to a monthly planner. Now, that being said, with us doing this whole YouTube thing, I do still think I need to have some sort of month at a glance, because with the two of us, we have to coordinate our schedules in order to make sure everything, you know, gets done that needs to get done.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of maybe for this next year of just doing like a monthly calendar kind of thing so I can slot our stuff in, and then maybe do like a bullet journal or something like that where I can write my lists and my thoughts and my comments and, you know, whatever is going on in my brain that I need to just dump down. So.
Yeah. I'm thinking that I'm going to go down the bullet journal route and see if that works. I've looked at it a lot and I feel like it may work better for it, because I'm like you, I love lists.
Yeah.
So I don't do as granular, you know, with like my house chores and all that, because I don't want to do them, much less see them on paper.
And again, it's whatever works for you, right?
But it does help to put, you know, some general things down. So I think that I've seen a lot of the people that we follow lately have been taking up bullet journaling.
Yeah. So,
and it looks like something that may work. So I think I'm gonna try that for the year as well, and then see if I can do a couple of variations of it and see what's.
Well, that's what's nice. What I've seen about the bullet journal is you basically cater it to whatever you want it to be. So,
exactly.
And the other thing to keep in mind too is, while I love all the decorated planners out there, in my experience, I would much rather spend the time doing like a scrapbook page or something like that. But I love what they do. It just doesn't seem to work for me. So.
Yeah, and I have some of that as well, I think. I think I probably would spend some time decorating it, but one of the other things that I figured out was I have to just lay everything out way in advance.
Right.
It has to be in a form where I can just go in and just write in my list.
Right. So make it pretty.
Yeah.
And then use it.
Just sit down a couple of nights in a row, you know, at the beginning of the year, and just lay out the boxes and everything for at least 6 months in advance.
Right.
And if it doesn't work for me, then we'll scrap it and start over. But, you know, do it that way so that I can, you know.
So one other thing I've learned this year, which is kind of connected with what you're saying, is I don't do very well on staggered, I'm calling it staggered creating. So like, I don't, you know, a lot of people say, oh, create for 15 minutes a day. I don't do well like that. I'm much more project oriented.
Right. Yeah.
Meaning, like, if I need to get my trip to England album done, I will work on it till it's done.
Yeah.
You know, what would be another one? For instance, I joined Kathy Zilski's fit class, right? And so the idea is, you know, you document everything and you put it in a nice little binder. You don't have to do that, of course, but that was my intention. And I took photos and I jotted notes down and stuff, but to put it in the nice format, I needed to take a Saturday and do 6 months. Take all the information I had and collate it and put it in together. But to do it like on a weekly basis or a daily basis, it just isn't going to happen. That's something I really learned this year, is I'm much better with a project focus as opposed to just a daily kind of ritual. I tried doing daily journaling. No, it does not work.
Yeah.
You know, partly because I don't think my life is that interesting, but I do think it's important, and if it works for you, again, that's great. But for me, I'm much more bigger picture, I guess. Maybe is that what right way? I don't know. Yeah. But that's one thing I learned this year, which is great. I think you should always learn something about yourself every year.
Absolutely. And I think every time you take up a new creative project, you do that, right? You learn something new about yourself.
Yeah.
Whether it's just, hey, that doesn't work for me, or whether it's, there's all these other underlying things with it.
Yeah, which is good.
So it was funny that you mentioned the monthly calendar, because you and I had both talked about doing like a calendar where you do pictures.
Oh yeah. So for scrapbooking next year, what I'm thinking of doing is having just your monthly calendar with your 30 some odd days, and I'm probably going to do this in Adobe Photoshop Elements, create it there. Because now I know how to do clipping masks. And so basically, because I take a lot of photos, right? But a lot of the photos are not really story photos. Like it'll be like a picture of a flower, or, I go to the zoo how many times and I've got, 50 million pictures of the elephants. Like I'm not going to do a 12 by 12 scrapbook page on it. But what I would like to do is just slot those in on the days so that you kind of have a month at a glance, with very little effort.
Right.
Yeah. So that's my plan. I haven't actually developed that form yet, but...
Yeah, I have, and I can never remember it. It's the little Polaroid printer.
Polaroid Zip, I think?
Or is it the
Zip?
Zip? Yeah, I think that's what it's called. We'll put all the information below, all the stuff we're talking about, but... So it's the little personalized printer picture. I bought one of those a couple years ago because I thought it'd be cool to... take it with us when we go on trips and print out pictures and kind of journal as I go along. Again, fail, does not work for me. But I tried it. But I'm going to do something similar to Melanie, where I'm going to do a spread for the month, and then I'll just print out the pictures from there, that size, and then just put them into the monthly. And what I like about that is that I don't feel like I have to do a picture a day.
Right.
Like, I could just do 3 pictures a week if I want to.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be something in every box.
And actually, they get a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. Because the other boxes, I'll just write stuff in, or I'll put a sticker or something. I have a lot of stickers.
Yeah, gotta use them up, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I really like that idea, and I feel like it's a good way for me to be able to scrapbook. Yeah. It's nice, it's easy, it won't feel really overwhelming, and I won't feel like I really have to spend a whole lot of time on it,
right.
I'll do my monthly spreads in advance, like I'll do them all at the beginning of the year, because I'm probably just going to print something out.
Yeah.
And then...
just add the photos as you need to.
I'll just add the photos as I go along.
And then if you want to add journaling, you just handwrite it in and move on.
And if I want to add any, additional elements, decorations, anything like that, I can do that as I go along.
And it's kind of in keeping with some of these memory planners that are out there.
Exactly.
Where people are taking their planners and turning them almost into like Project Life type books, but in a planner.
Right.
I've seen some really great things that people have done with that. Again, I'm the planner thing. I'm a little hesitant to go down that road, but I think this will work. And I'm just going to incorporate it in my regular album. So my regular album is going to be a combination of this monthly summary, 12 by 12 pages, pocket pages. Speaking of pocket pages, so this year I did what I'm calling Capture Your 365.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I found this website where they give you photo prompts for every day of the month, and then the idea is you take a picture a day. Now, I don't take a picture a day. I do take a picture a day.
I was going to say, yes, you do.
I probably take 10 pictures a day,
right?
But not necessarily for the prompt. Right. So I basically go about my life taking pictures, and then I try to fit the prompts to the pictures that I take. And so I've done that all the way pretty faithfully up until the end of August. In September, I kind of died out. And there's a number of reasons for it, but basically it just the challenge part of it just kind of wore thin. So while I think it's really great, and I might do it next year just as follow the website just as a way to take different photos. I don't think I'm going to do it the same way. Like, I'm not going to document it the same way. And actually, when I ever get quote-unquote caught up on my 2017 year, I'm still back in March. So yes, that video you saw
a few weeks ago.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I'm not any further ahead, but that's okay. I have absolutely no pressure, like, on myself to be caught up.
Yeah.
I actually like or prefer being farther behind, because then I have lots of opportunities to create and choices of what I want to work on.
Yeah.
So I think next year I will still use Pocket Pages, but probably more for events where I take more photos.
Mm-hmm.
But so combination of thereof. Now, of course, I have like 10 boxes of Project Life cards that I probably am not going to use all up, but that's okay. You know.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've learned this year is to be very comfortable with not finishing a project.
Yeah.
If I just don't get it done, I don't get it done. That doesn't mean I will never get it done. For example, I was crocheting a quilt, not a quilt, a blanket, because I learned how to crochet a few years back, and I love it. I really do. But my eyesight, unfortunately, just doesn't lend to it that great. It's just, especially because I was told by the teacher that I tend to crochet very tight, which makes it really difficult sometimes to do the stitches and everything. So I have a blanket that I had started probably about 5 years ago. Well, I picked it back up and I'm doing it again. So, and once I start doing it, I get the bug again. And I'm like, oh, I want to do we things.
Exactly.
You know, I want to crochet all the things, you know.
And some of that's seasonal too.
Yeah, exactly. My cats need crochet hats, you know.
We live in Southern California, and when it's, you know,
oh God,
when it's 100 degrees outside, you're not going to want to crochet.
No, I do not want a blanket on my lap, that's for sure. I don't care how high the AC is. But that's one of the things that I learned, because I can be really hard on myself about that, about starting a project and not finishing it. Yeah. Because it feels very like, oh, I failed at it, you know? But I'm getting very comfortable saying, you know what, it's not that I failed at it, it's that I'm going to do it later. I'm still good at it. You know? And it served its purpose at the time. Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I used to do a lot of jewelry making, and I've probably done one project this year, and I haven't done very much else. So that's something else I want to try and pick up next year. I have a lot of plans. We'll see what happens. A lot of big goals.
Well, I think it's good to have some sort of idea of what you want to accomplish, just so that time. What am I trying to say? Time passes you by really quick.
Right.
And that's what I discovered this year with my one little word of do. Like, just do something, right? Like, if you don't have any plans, it's very easy to just sit there and watch TV and not do anything. Which, again, there's nothing wrong if you want to watch TV.
That's fine. If those are your plans, those are great plans.
Yeah.
Sometimes those are my plans.
Yeah. But for, you know, if you do want to have this other part, you have to find time for it, right? And again, like we said, everything needs to align. So at least having the idea in the back of your mind helps you prepare for doing it. So.
Right. And the other thing is, and this is getting a little bit, you know, touchy-feely, but the creativity really feeds your soul. Like, it does something for you. With so much stuff going on in the world right now that we will not go into, it just, you need an outlet for stuff, right? And you need somewhere to direct a lot of what you're feeling. And it's a great way to feel good about the things that you're doing, because maybe you make a card and you send it to someone who's sick, or, you know, you quilt a blanket and you send it to someone who's elderly or something. You know, there's so much need in the world, and if you can share that, you know, with someone, it makes you feel good, makes other people feel good, and it helps you put that creative energy towards something, right? So
exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
put a little bit more back out there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So do you have anything else on your list that we haven't talked about that you would like to try?
And you'll see us look down a lot because we both have to write notes. I can't operate without them. Melanie might have a good memory. I do not. I think, let's see, what else do I want to do? I've been trying to, for the last couple of years, I have one really good friend who still sends out cards on a regular basis. I mean, I know there are people, you know, like you still do cards.
We're a dying breed.
Yeah, there's not a lot, you know, but she's very technologically adverse. She doesn't like technology very much. She probably got her first smartphone about a year ago, I think.
So she'd rather send a card than email.
Yes, exactly. She'd much rather send a card. So what I wanted to do for her, she's not really a paper crafter, nor does she have time because she's got a few little kids. So I wanted to make a bundle of cards for her for different events throughout the year.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, so, you know, like for Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, you know, not Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, that kind of stuff. Just give her cards, you know, cards she can use for
hello,
birthdays,
you know,
hello cards,
thank you,
thank you cards, sympathy cards, because unfortunately we need those sometimes.
Yeah.
But so try and make a bundle. I've been wanting to do it for the last few years, but I haven't made the time, so I want to try and see if I can get that done. I'd like to give them to her for Mother's Day, but we'll see how far I get by then.
Well, maybe, you know, with the cards that we're making for the channel, you can pop some of those in there and stuff like that. Yeah.
So that's at least one thing. And then, let's see, what else haven't I talked about? Oh, I have some online card classes that we've signed up for.
We didn't talk about classes.
Yeah, so online card classes. I've signed up for them, haven't taken all of them. So I want to do that. I want to catch up on those because I really like those. And then I know this is kind of a fad that's coming and going, but I really want to try it just for myself, the hand lettering.
Oh, cool.
My penmanship is atrocious. Is really horrible. I mean, I can't, I would rather not see it on paper, you know, like, so I would like to try the hand lettering just to see if I like it, see if it's for me, see if I can kind of, you know, sturdy out my penmanship.
Improve it just in general.
Yeah.
I've signed up for a lot of classes too. I'm really good at watching the videos, but not so good at doing the exercises, you know, or actually putting into practice. And I don't think you have to do everything.
Right.
Because sometimes just watching a video, you know, resonates with you in your brain and it triggers some other sort of creative endeavor, which is fine. But I have signed up for a lot of classes where I haven't even done some of the basic stuff. Like I signed up for, speaking of online card classes, I signed up for the watercolor class. And one of them is to actually swatch out all your watercolors so that you can see, you know, how, if they're opaque, you know, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I do need to do some of those things. So yes, that is on my list for next year too, is actually go back and actually do some of the classes. I think the only ones that I've been really good about doing were the Tim Holtz creative chemistry classes, which were fantastic. If you have not taken them, you
definitely
should.
They're so good. I did the first two. I haven't done the third series because that was around the time when we were moving that I had signed up for it. So I just haven't had time to do it, but that's definitely one that I want to catch up.
And it's a great one. You can go back and revisit. Yes. Actually, I did the same thing. The first, I watched all the videos and then, you know, thought about them and thought, oh, that's really cool. And then I actually went back and did all the tags and stuff like that. So.
And I love that. I mean, I love the tags because I have my little book and I go into it. And when I think of something that I really like, I'll go into the book and I'll look for the tag that I did on that and just to kind of refresh my memory on the technique and I'll use it. Yeah. So I really, that's one of my favorites that I've done. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of mine too.
So I actually want to do costumes for my boyfriend and I as well. So we had wanted to do some this year, but we were going away on vacation, so it just wasn't working out.
Ran out of time.
Yeah, it wasn't working out. So for next year we'll be working on those as well.
Maybe a little earlier.
Yes, definitely earlier. There's going to be a lot of planning because Halloween costumes, if you want to do them right, is not really something you want to throw together at the last minute unless you're very creative. I have seen some awesome last minute costumes, but I am not super creative in that way. My creativity is very structured. Melanie's is not. Melanie is a lot more free flow.
Let's just see what I can come up with.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not a fly by the seat of my pants kind of person.
You also like to do a lot of research.
Yes, I do. I'm very much a nerd that way. I need to have all my T's crossed and my I's dotted, and I need to research everything to death and be sure I know exactly what I'm doing before I put pen to paper or glue to fabric or anything.
Maybe we'll have to challenge ourselves, you know, next year to do something outside our comfort zone. Like, you know, I'll challenge you to use some supplies, you know, the last minute. And you'll be like, okay, you need to write out a detailed plan of how to do this, right?
Traveling is a perfect example of that, of how very opposite we are. I will spend months in advance preparing for my trip. you know, doing all the research of where we're going, where we're going to stay, you know, what we're going to do when we get there.
Yeah.
And then probably about a week in advance, I'll start to pack all our stuff and then, you know, put everything together, put it in the suitcase, you know, do all of this stuff. Melanie, 5 minutes before she's leaving, is throwing things in her bag.
But it's not like I'm disorganized in it.
No, it's not, which is the funny part.
Yeah.
You're not disorganized.
Like, I know exactly what needs to go in. It's just, you know, I don't know. It's just, why pack a week when you can pack the day of? Like.
And I say, why pack the day of when you can pack a week before?
And even just planning, like, what you're going to do. Oh, well, I'll get there and I'll go to, like, an info booth and they'll tell me what there is to do. And
no. So, perfect example of why this doesn't work for me. So we just came back from vacation, and the first day, I didn't do a lot of planning with this vacation because the goal was that I was going to relax. Come hell or high water, I was going to relax. So I tried really hard not to over-plan and not to overbook us for things, you know? So I knew generally what, you know, we were going to do and all that stuff. And we were going to an area that didn't have like a whole lot of, I love historical vacations, and that's when I tend to overplan because I just want to see everything.
You want to get everything crammed in there.
Yeah, exactly. And this was a very low-key, very not that kind of vacation, but there were significant things that we wanted to see. So I said only one major thing a day, and that's it. That's all we're doing. And I didn't even plan ahead of time what thing we were doing, other than anything where we had to buy tickets ahead of time. But we get there, and we got there at night. So the next morning, we get up, we go to have breakfast, and the place that we found on Yelp to go have breakfast was packed, and I was starving. And I get, let's just say I have hangry condition. Low blood sugar is not my friend at all. So we get there, and it's packed, and I'm like, yeah, I can't wait for this. We need to go somewhere else. And as we're driving to some other spot, I won't tell you guys where we ended up because I'm not telling anyone where we had breakfast the first morning there. But
a bit of a dive, was it?
Well, let's just say it's not a place I would normally go. Not because it's a dive. I love divey places, but it just, Anyway, so as we're driving, I told my boyfriend, I was like, see, this is why I plan everything. I don't want to be starving and not know where I'm going to eat.
Right.
But it's just, you know, it's just one of those things. We each have our things.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, I don't know, Melanie, do you have anything else that you wanted to cover? This has been a really long video, so I apologize. I'm not even sure how long this has gone. I'll try to edit as much as possible.
Well, Well, I think that the main point of this was we just wanted to get to know you guys a little better, or rather, you get to know us a little better. And we would really appreciate if you leave any comments, you know, even just to say hi, just so we know who's watching. And you know, what do you think? Are you interested in these types of videos? Yeah. You know? If not, we'll stick with our hands and, you know.
If you don't want to see these faces and only want to see the hands, let us know.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, that's much easier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Believe me, this is not easy for either one of us.
Yeah.
As much as we've gone on, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not second nature to us.
Exactly. But I mean, again, what we're really hoping to foster is a community here where we can get to know you guys get to know us, and, you know, that we can share our love of crafting in general.
Thanks.